Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Drop, episode 4. I am joined by my buddy, Jordan. What up, bud?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Everyone told me 2 kids was going to be super easy. And, yeah, not so much. Haven't been sleeping very much, but, that's how it goes.
Yeah, here it's twice as hard.
It is.
It's worse than twice as hard, is what I've heard.
Yes, it is a...
But what a joy of fatherhood.
The joys of fatherhood. That's right. That's right. Thank you for stopping me before I said something dumb. Anyway, welcome, everybody. Welcome to The Drop. Today, we're going to be talking about some kind of heavy topics. The first one is kind of near and dear to both Jordan and I because we're both streetboarders. But the question is, does street snowboarding even matter? And to who it matters? And then the second thing we're going to go into, which going to cross the bridge in the same similar topic, but what kind of snowboarding actually does matter? You know, we've got so many different things, whether it's, obviously there's half pipe competition, things like that, but there's like influencer snowboarding and there's like carving snowboarding and there's all these different things. So we're just kind of go through and talk about them all and kind of see where we're at. What do you think about street snowboarding, Jordan?
I don't know. It's what I grew up wanting to do and still do. I love it.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's so many sides to snowboarding that I think are like, that's what makes it so cool and unique.
Yeah.
You know, like you can be a powder dog, you can be a park rat, you can be a street dude, you know? And I don't know that I think they all deserve a place, but I did have a friend who kind of brought up a point, like, is street snowboarding like beneficial to snowboarding? Like, what does it do for snowboarding as a whole? And I think that's
like going back to kind of like our last week's episode, like where we want snowboarding to go. Do we want it to get bigger? So does street snowboarding fit into that equation? Does it bring more people into the sport?
Yeah. Or does it just not? But it kind of goes back to almost accessibility, right? Like, it's easy to go out with your buddies and a shovel and have a snowboard and go snowboard. It's kind of like parallel to skateboarding, I think.
Yeah. The thing about it for me, okay, first of all, I love street snowboarding, 100%. And yes, you hit the nail on the head. Accessibility-wise, a lot of people only have street snowboarding to really do. You know, they can go hit like train parks, things like that, but they don't have big epic mountains or half pipes or things like that.
Yeah, and honestly, so like the park stuff's kind of the same, right? So if you go year after year, you're, all right, I've did that over the Rainbow Rail last year, or I learned this tricks on boxes over at this resort this year, you know? It's like the same.
One of the things, so I'm obviously a street snowboarder. Like that's, what I've done. That is what I had a career as a snowboarder doing. However, in my older years, I kind of look back and I say, like, what for? You know what I mean? Not like what for. Obviously, I did it for myself. Obviously, I wanted to do it. Obviously, I did it for sponsors. But nowadays, it's like, what is, like, what, I guess at the end of the day, you have to look at what is the end goal, right? What do you want? Do you want to just earn the respect of your fellow snowboarders who do street snowboarding? Do you want Instagram followers? Do you want money? Do you want fame? Do you want Insta fame? Like whatever you want to call it. Like what is your, I guess before anything, you need to decide what your end goal is with your snowboarding. Like for just personal experience, I grew up watching True Life, Mac Dog videos, the Forum 8, Devin Walsh, all those dudes hitting street rails. And I thought street rails were just the coolest thing because that's what I looked up to. And I wanted to eventually earn the respect of those kinds of dudes. And I wanted to be in those kinds of videos. So that's where my main goal is. I don't know about you.
Yeah. That's what caught me. It was like seeing Decade. I was like, holy shit, you can ride rails that are on fire. You know what I mean?
For real.
You can, but then also the perfect picnic table. Luckily, we had one of those like right down the street from our house. So it's like, got to go ride Highland once. Cost like $100 for the day. I remember my dad was like, "That's it for the year," you know. And my brother and I just took out my like foam core board, rode a picnic table, and it was like, "Oh, I can do a nose press. Oh, let's learn to switch." You know what I mean? You just like that progression, but seeing it in the videos. I think it was the Revival where they added skateboard audio to the movies.
Yeah.
I was like, just blown away by that. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I want to do that and somehow have those noises playing like on the rails.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, kind of like what you're saying. It's like, does it matter anymore? I think there's definitely a place for it, but
it just depends what you want your end goal to be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
or is there an end goal ever? Is it just about having fun and just
well,
kind of
I think that there's a lot of careers that have a future in snowboarding. I mean, the one thing that I've really noticed just over the years, and maybe this is just bitter old snowboarder talking, but when I started snowboarding, I thought there was going to be a place for me in snowboarding after I was done jumping from roof to rail or whatever. You know what I mean?
Isn't that called a team manager?
I thought there was going to be an open door to this, you know? And in reality, it's more like a fat closed door in a lot of instances. And like right now, we're doing this show. Did we have to do street snowboarding in order to do this show? No. Did we have to be like heavy duty street snowboarders in order to, you know, still have a career in snowboarding? Like, no. So I guess now that I am older and have different goals in snowboarding, obviously I'm not going to go out and be doing the same things I did before street snowboarding, you know? But is there still a place for it? Possibly. But like I said, I think if your goal is, hey, I just want to do the craziest things on street rails and earn the respect of other street riders, then I'm going to be a heavy-duty streetboarder. But don't expect the money, the fame, the whatever you want from it, especially nowadays with how, like, oversaturated it is, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you could go out and do a sick kink rail, right? Biggest kink rail, huge kink rail, and maybe you might get 10,000 views, or let's just say even crazier. You'll get 100,000 views and 5,000 likes on your post, and that's really good for you. Then you could also have a video of you just like straight lining a hill doing actually nothing, and it just goes viral and gets 400,000 views. And
but what would you be
10,000
more proud of? What would you be more proud of? Like,
well,
at the end of the day?
I think it just depends on what the end goal is. Like, I would be more proud of doing the street rail, you know, personally. But as far as like what do I want? Do I want views? Do I want comments? Do I want likes? Then I don't really care what it does. And to be honest, I would much rather be doing long runs that go viral for some reason than have to huck myself 185 times with the threat of police, with the threat of injury, with the threat of all the other things that go into it in order to get a 4-second clip, which nowadays probably wouldn't even get anywhere close to like 100,000 views.
That's true.
You know?
That's
and so it's like what,
sadly true.
like what the cost benefit analysis, whatever you want to call it. It's like, here's a thing that's extremely dangerous, probably going to get hurt if I even land it. And if I don't get busted by police or by somebody, right? Or just keep riding my snowboard, hope that this video does well, and next thing you know, it does more and gets more views and gets more love and does more for you than this big rail did, you know? So I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I genuinely think that street snowboarding nowadays is for one demographic and one demographic only. Core snowboarders whose respect you're trying to get from your community you're already involved in. And goddamn, dude, half the time the way people are, like, you could do the craziest thing and they still will ignore you and too cool you all the time anyway. So you never really know, right?
Yeah, that's
Who
true.
knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
You seem conflicted.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I guess.
Why?
I just love street snowboarding.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy doing it, and I think kind of getting the respect of your peers is important.
You do it for the
like,
pure passion of it.
Yeah, like I love doing it.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger and I saw JP Walker driving a Mercedes, I was like, oh, dude, you could be a street boarder. And like, but no, that wasn't his vehicle from what I heard. And it was JP Walker, like one of the best to ever do it. It's
Yeah.
just a different thing. I just thought that maybe there was a level of that, right? And now you kind of hear, oh, like, you're pro for this team, you're making $200, $300 a month.
Yeah.
It's just different, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you fit it into your life and make it
Well, and how do
something you enjoy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, not to cut you off on that, but it's like, and then if you're only getting $200 a month, how do you justify risking your life?
Well, that's the difference
on some
between like
crazy
us, like
situation?
we're parents, like
Yeah.
we have partners, wives, whatever, you know, and it's like, yeah, how are you going to justify to her? Like, I mean, I hit my head on a rail last year, like slid
Yeah.
down some stairs, and I remember like telling my buddy, I was like, yo, we just don't let anyone see that footage. Like, cause
Yeah.
I know man is going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess I love getting on my snowboard, going to a park and dicking around on a hill, or bringing my rail down to the street, or whatever the case may be, or hitting a 15 stair down bar. Like, I love the act of street snowboarding. Like, I agree with you there.
You know, right across the street, you have like a 22 stair rail.
Yeah. So like, that's sick. And like, I love that. And I'll definitely, hopefully if we get some snow out there, I'll definitely go and do it.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, I guess I'm thinking of it a little bit differently. Like, you're thinking of kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you are thinking like how skateboarders like climb out of their house, grab their skateboard, go down the road, do a kickflip, smith, or, you know, backsmith a ledge, whatever. And they're just like kind of cruising around, and it just is what it is. Like, and that kind of like snowboarding, street snowboarding, like, yeah, let's go down the street, let's go to the park, let's hit a up log, let's hit a pole jam, let's hit a down bar, let's hit, you know, small things like that. But then there's
Yeah, I
also
mean, that stuff's fun, but I mean, I don't know. There's a spot for
like,
all
are
of it,
you
I
going to
think.
go to like a 3-story closeout rail tomorrow for fun?
Probably not that, but I'll ride down a
Yeah.
30-foot wall or something, you know?
Yeah, that, I mean, no, for sure.
If it looks like something I want to do, then
Yeah.
and I know and I can picture it in my head, like, yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that, like, because I want to do it. And honestly, I kind of get more joy out of that because it's like creating something. It's not just doing a 540 like everybody else on a park jump and, okay, you know, that dude hardway 270'd that rail. Yeah, freaking 100 people have done that.
Yeah. No, that's
that
very
day
true.
probably, and that's cool, but I think it's cool, like, to the aesthetic of filming street stuff. Don't get me wrong, man, I like, we've been going to Elm and like just riding and kind of filming each other, and that's been a blast.
Yeah.
So I think, like, kind of pulling it back to what we were talking about, I think it's like, is it good for snowboard? Like, is it good for
yeah.
where we want to see snowboarding go, or where people want to see it go? And I think this came from a friend who, you know, runs a resort basically, right? And so he sees those numbers and he's seen that stuff, like, oh, not as many people are coming to ride, and like, I get that side of it, like, that sucks and you want to see more people, but then it's also, you know, do we go back to the accessibility thing? Like, maybe people get tired of us talking about, like, how do you find ways for that? But
What's funny is all those rails that you have in the park, all those things that are built are all based on features that are in the street, which is also the funny part about it.
So you're pretending
Yeah,
to streetboard at a resort.
Yeah.
And it's changed. Like, you know, when I first started snowboarding, the resort had like a PVC rail that was in the ground. You know what I mean? That was it.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, that's cool, but all right, you'd ride with your buds at the park and be like, yo, should we
Yeah,
go
the
hit
jumps
this?
were just mounds of snow.
Yeah,
Wasn't
there were
like
sweet
a
gaps
jump.
though. Like,
Yeah.
I wish they could bring back some of those like BMX style gaps. Remember
Totally.
the tabletops were narrow and you'd sides
Yeah.
hit from the sides and learn 720s, and
Yeah.
dude, it was
No,
sick.
that stuff is sick. Like a 90s park, I've always thought would be rad.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it, I think why the video part was what it was, you know, backcountry, street stuff, and that was it. Maybe a park feature here or there if it was a big park jump because it was a unique feature, maybe at Mammoth or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that stuff's interesting, and I think where that came from was like skateboarding, really. You know, you get to go out and express yourself and build a feature the way you're going to do it. You could hit the same rail as like 20 other people, but that dude might have hit it with no jump. That dude might have built a big booter.
Yeah, one dude might have done
You know.
270, one dude might have done a nose press, one dude. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and it's certain things you might be more stoked. Like, I remember I've seen footage of some kid like backflipping to a ledge that a bunch of people like gap backlipped and whatnot. And I'm like, I mean, to me, the gap backlip looks sick because it was by someone who's snowboarding. I thought was really cool. Whereas that dude did a totally different trick, and I think that's
Yeah,
what
I
makes
mean,
it unique and fun to watch.
for sure. I mean, I look back on certain tricks and just for example, if somebody were to ask me, like, what's the best back lip I've ever seen? Like, I would never in a million years think about somebody doing a backflip on a park rail. Wouldn't even cross my mind to think about that. My mind directly goes to like Stephen Duke, Neo Proto, backflip, Clayton Kink rail, like because it's perfect.
That is a perfect.
You know,
that is
there's all kinds of them, but I would never in a million years ever think of anything on a park jump. Like even if somebody's like, "What's the best like jump trick that's ever been done?" Like I mean, honestly, like lately, I would say Torgy or Switchback 5 to like method. That is on a park jump, but he has done them in backcountry too. But this is going to sound kind of weirdly controversial, but I think the sickest backcountry jump that I've ever seen was Torstein did a triple cork into powder, and I was just like, what the F? Or, I mean, some of the tricks people have done over Chad's Gap, like Sage's like Holy Crail, double cork, whatever, like that was insane. But then also like MFM's like
front three
switch
late.
front three though, or
no, it's front three, and I think he like late grab Indeed like at 360,
dude, like so dope. But okay, well let's not wrap this up, but okay, the question was, does street snowboarding matter? Yes or no, and why?
Yes,
and why?
For the culture.
Okay,
I think just simply put that way.
What
about you?
I am a yes, but I think it's certainly different nowadays. I think it's there for people that want to get involved in snowboarding, but I certainly don't think snowboarding is relying on it to keep it uplifted, you know? But I also think that once you're into snowboarding, you're going to be into street snowboarding just because it's so unique and different. And even if you can't wrap your mind around it, it's unique and different, just the same way as like watching dudes ride Alaska lines is something I'll never be able to wrap my head around, but I still respect it, and it's crazy. So I guess the answer for both of us is yes.
I think there's a space for it. I think Forum needs to bring back that street dweller.
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, accessibility, man. I think I think it would be easy for a company to make $100 snowboard, even if that snowboard is.
Yeah, we're talking about this,
and even if they say straight up, this snowboard is not meant to last more than 2 weeks of riding. You know.
Damn.
Like,
how about 2 months?
I mean, if you rode it every single day for 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Okay. So like it
14-day expiration date.
Yeah. Like this board is not meant to be a forever board. You know, this board is meant to like mess around in the backyard / if you're going up to the mountain, like just don't expect this thing to like be something crazy, but it's only $100. So you could like go through like 4 of them a year, you know, if you wanted to, if you were into it.
Yeah.
Or just being a gateway drug into snowboarding, just a gateway snowboard.
Yeah, I like that.
But anyway, so yeah, we both agree street snowboarding matters. But with that being said, what snowboarding do you think matters the most, or what kind of boarding matters? Like, what do you think?
I don't know. I think there's a place for all of it. My favorite stuff is to watch street, obviously. We talked about that. But I think there's a big place for just the day-to-day park stuff. I think people are watching that stuff. It's all over the internet. People are getting views and talking about it. And I think that's great. Little projects are popping up, and you're like, oh, dude, like just today I saw Solomon did a little video up at Highland and, you know, the resorts here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can watch it. Zeb Powell did something crazy on Instagram at Mammoth the other day. You know, I think that's
the biggest driver of snowboarding right now is social media. Like,
it really
for sure.
is.
I mean, not everybody has cable TV, especially nowadays. People are getting rid of cable TV, and that means no more like X Games on ESPN. And just not to mention, I mean, everything that happened last year with X Games, their credibility is just, at least within snowboarding. I don't know, because I am obviously so deep involved in snowboarding that, I mean, I'll probably still watch X Games because I'm so deeply involved in X Games, but watching X Games last year was also so hard because I'm so deeply involved in snowboarding, you know?
Because that was the whole thing with like the TikTok people and influencers,
but at the same
right?
time, but I think that's it though, right? Like that is where snowboarding is going. Like, as much as the culture, the core of snowboarding hated that, 90% of the viewers that watched that were probably like, oh my God, sick. It's Young Gravy, you know? Like, people were probably hyped on that. And so that goes back to like our conversation the other week, which was, where do we want snowboarding to go? Who's in charge of it? I mean, like, we can go into a whole different conversation later about like gatekeeping and all that bullshit. But
Yeah, you make it sound like there's like a mayor to snowboarding or something.
I think that there are. I genuinely think that there is a hierarchy of snowboarding that controls everything, and I think it's kind of I could go off on an individual basis, and I could go off on like a whole era of snowboarding that I think exists and a whole mind space on it. But at the same time, I also think that there's a whole side of me that doesn't want to admit it, but thinks that they're right, you know? And I believe that there's like a huge social media by far, in my opinion, is the biggest driver of anything in snowboarding nowadays. It is not Spencer Schubert winning video like rider of the year, doing insane stuff. Not Cole Naven doing incredibly huge dope rails. Not Jed putting out the sickest video parts ever. Like, unfortunately, it's like some dude who every single video gets 1 million, 2 million views on his short on YouTube, you know? Every single video. Like, he is the one that is driving snowboarding. Like, it's.
But is it helping snowboarding?
Well, it depends what you want. It depends if
is it getting people to snowboard, or is it just getting people to see?
To me, if helping snowboarding, if this is the definition of helping snowboarding, is more sales, more people snowboarding, more crowded, then I don't know if that's necessarily helping. So if that's your definition of helping snowboarding, then that's what it's doing. I think that it is bringing more people into snowboarding. And I am hoping that by shows like this, we are then taking those people that are getting into snowboarding and bringing them into the core of snowboarding. Like, that's what I think our mission, or my mission, is with this show, is connecting the dots between people that watched the X Games and were stoked on Young Gravy and the people that weren't stoked on Young Gravy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Do you want... Like, we talked about it before, but what do you think is the most important part of snowboarding right now, or the biggest driving force?
Yeah, probably social media. But I mean, all my stuff that I'm seeing is probably different than that influencer stuff, right? But
yeah, well, same. I mean, same for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do you want it to be? What do you want to be the driving force? You want street snowboarding to still be the driving force.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know, just like kids like riding with their buddies and like having fun and like creating projects. I think that's really cool. Like filming each other, being out there. It's kind of crazy. You go to Highland now and all you're seeing is everyone's phone is out.
Totally.
And it's like, it's cool because then, you know, you're going to see those clips later, you know? I don't know what the driving force is. I think that's like maybe something we're going to try to explore with this show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both on the same page about trying to bring more people in. Like, I want snowboarding to be inclusive for everybody. I don't want there to be, oh, yeah, you have to do this, you have to wear that, you have to ride this board, you have to do this in order to be cool in snowboarding. I think that shit is whack, and I think that's dumb. Everyone's allowed to have their opinions about brands or things or whatever. But I just want those people that are getting into snowboarding to get into the cool parts of snowboarding also. You know, not just, oh, I go snowboarding and this is my whatever and this is my this and this is my GoPro and this is what I do, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that I'll say that's cool that I've been seeing and noticing a lot of is a lot more of the like 30, 40-year-old dads out there riding that are like, oh, yeah, this is like me going to the gym right now.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's awesome. Like, I think people seeing that, I think, could mean more to, you know, could bring more people into it going, oh, there's not just some end to this. Because, you know, I hit 30 and I was like, I'm having a kid, I'm done snowboarding. Like, that's what everyone has said and that's what you saw.
Yeah.
But then now you got Mikey LeBlanc, who's 50 years old, jumping off of double sets and getting covers. That's cool. So, like, maybe that middle ground person who's, you know, like your homie at Highland, bought a form, wears a helmet, backflipping off of rails.
Yeah, so
that's sick. Like, when I
was
younger, you know, I'd be like, that dude's wearing a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, that's not core, but it's like, now I'm seeing it from a different point of view, and I'm like, that's really cool. That dude is taking his lunch break here at Highland Hills, doing these cool tricks. Like,
well, I think that's a huge part. You just kind of hit the nail on the head. Is like perspectives shift as you get older,
and it's always going to, and like we're gonna grow and change. And I think that's why it's hard to have like just a blanket statement of like what matters. But
No, for
to
sure.
me, I think that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that everyone's perspectives on things change. I also think that another big thing, going back to like people our age / growing up, you know, there's the next generation of people are having kids, like you just said. You know, we're bringing our kids into like, yeah, let's watch snowboard videos. Like the other night, my kid was freaking out. I put on a snowboard video, and he was like stoked on it, you know, and we just like sat there and watched snowboarding. He's not even 2, you know, so it's cool that I can then bring him into snowboarding in a way that I want, but also giving them a little like background of snowboarding's past. It's not just, oh, I opened up my phone and I saw some dude doing this, you know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that as that generation grows up, they might be able to revive it a little bit. Not that it's necessarily going anywhere. I don't know how much, as much as I love watching Jed Anderson do something, like film his parts, like as much as I love that, I think it's sick. Do I think that it's bringing in more people? Do I think it's helping snowboarding? Yes, but not as much as maybe, yes, I do 100%, but maybe not as much as some other things are. That's, yeah. So
I think Jed's like opening up snowboarding to like the core skateboarders though too. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
Bringing
sure.
in like,
yeah.
Which I think is
I mean,
awesome.
same with like Scott, when Scott did the whole like Zero Skateboards like collab thing, like that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like, but then I also, you know, there's also like the whole backcountry side of things. Like, I mean, it's cool seeing dudes like Red Gerard. Like Red has what, like 400,000 followers on Instagram. I can't even keep count anymore. A ton, but. You know, so when he posts him doing something sick in the backcountry, like people are hyped on that. You know what I mean?
Was doing really sick stuff in the backcountry.
He's really sick. Yeah. So like handing the reins over to somebody like that is dope. I mean, I also really like the contest side of stuff. Like I think that as much as somebody might not be able to relate to Marcus Cleveland doing a quad cork 1800, they can relate to going off that jump or going on one of the rails that they hit in their slopestyle run, you know, because that would be at their local hill.
Yeah.
You know, I almost think that's the trick's not more relatable, but the scenery and the setting that they're doing it in is more relatable, because if you live somewhere close,
yeah, and even the way it's
have a
like
train
being
park.
filmed now, especially with like Gimbal God, just like the way he gets up there and in it. Like
Yeah.
I think that's
Any person can do that, it seems
yeah,
like.
it's cool to see. Like I think people are. It
Yeah.
brings you into it where it's not just statistics and a person doing a trick, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, yes, the average layman cannot relate to. Oh my God, he just did a 2190, you know, or whatever they're up to now. But they can relate to going off that jump or seeing somebody go off that jump because they rode the chairlift at Breckenridge yesterday, and off to their left they saw somebody going over the big jumps. Like, so they see it. They might not relate to the tricks, but at least they can relate to what those people are doing. It is obviously much more difficult when on the very off chance that ESPN does show those like X Games real snows and stuff. If somebody was clicking through that and they were to watch like Dylan Thompson's real snow from however long ago, they'd be like, what is this idiot doing? Actually, that's funny that I just remember that.
They just like did a whole thing on that. X Games Real Snow like just last week, I think.
ESPN, they're...
But you don't think that was good?
No, I do. I think that's sick. I think that's rad. But what I'm saying, what I was going to laugh about was so ESPN on their Instagram posted like a bunch of bail clips from people's real snows. And not a single one of the comments, maybe there were some, I didn't look at all of them, but hardly any of them were like, that was incredible. Like, damn, these guys are killing it. Every one of the comments was, wow, look at all these idiots not wearing helmets. Look at all this dumb shit. All it was like a bunch of Karens pointing down at people for like crashing and not wearing helmets. Like, it was really wild. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, that goes back to like the whole helmet conversation. But I just
that hurting? Is that hurting snowboarding? Right?
That video of a bunch of dudes eating it, and ESPN promoting it.
Maybe stop posting
that's
stuff.
like, yeah, like maybe that is hurting it. Like maybe people are like, I don't want to like, oh my gosh, ESPN is
or my
promoting
mom's looking
people
at
to
it
not
like
wear
it's
a helmet.
football, and there's parents who are not letting their kids play football now. Like that's a really common thing that's happening these days because of all the issues and brain injuries and whatnot that comes with it. That maybe that's gonna highlight that, and people are gonna focus in on that only. Like, whoa, dude, you can fuck yourself up just doing this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can fuck yourself up walking down the street too. So my biggest thing about the whole helmet thing is not about wearing helmets. It has nothing to do with wearing helmets. It's about people commenting on what you should and shouldn't do. Like, mind your damn business. If somebody wants to do what they're doing, let them do it. Like, I don't understand why people feel the need to tell other people what they need to do.
But isn't that like disgusting. What snowboarding was, though? Like, that's kind of what made it cool, like the rebellion. Like, it's kind of like goes to that skate culture of like, dude, we weren't allowed on the hill. Like, we weren't supposed to be, like, there's still mountains you're not allowed to snowboard at.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of fall into that, like, that core side of it of like, dude, fuck you. I'm going to snowboard on this thing. I don't give a shit what you think, you know?
Yeah. I mean, no, for sure. It's just, it's interesting time. Interesting time out there.
Yeah, we're in weird times. Just the world, dude.
We took a couple different tangents, but I like it, man. That's what the drop is all about. No, I think that I think that all the different kinds of snowboarding matter. I don't think anyone matters more than another. I think that the social media influencer type thing nowadays is contributing a lot to people getting into the sport. I hope that the people that are carrying that on their bag, like those influencer type people, I hope steer people in the right direction, you know, and they're being good guides for people. But I don't know. I guess we have yet to find out.
Let's check the numbers next year and we'll see how snowboarding's
we'll check in next year. Yeah. I think snowboarding's doing really well overall.
Yeah, I
think
so.
Just how much better do you want it to be? Like I said, like we said last week, I want it to be as big as we can. I want it to be like freaking, I don't know, what's a big sport? Like basketball. Maybe not that big. I don't think it's possible to get that big, but it would be cool to
Road
see.
biking.
Road biking is pretty big.
Well, you're in Minnesota, so you're seeing it now here.
Oh, dude, in Reno, it was everywhere too.
Yeah.
But, well, anything else you want to contribute, Jordan?
No, I think we got to wrap this one up.
Put
a bow on it.
I really appreciate you hanging out with me. That was a good chat.
Yeah, man.
Let me know what you guys think about all of this stuff. I really appreciate everyone that's been reaching out to us and commenting and giving us pointers. Shoot, man, this whole conversation was pretty much about one of those. So make sure you guys chime in. Also, I was kind of curious. Like, I want your guys' opinion. I don't want to jump the gun, but should we set up some sort of like Patreon or something like that to have people like ask, you know, they can drop in questions, they can throw in topics.
Keep the lights on in this place.
Keep the lights on in this place. That's right. This high-end studio. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Thank you to everyone that's been subscribing and commenting on the YouTube, everyone that's been listening in on Spotify. We appreciate you guys. Anything else you want to say to the people?
Dude, we got stickers that came in the mail today.
Dope. Nice. I actually ordered some myself too.
Nice.
I'll tell you in a sec. I forgot to tell you before. We got round stickers and we got square stickers. That's pretty cool. So anyways, let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you want some stickers, and we will talk to you guys soon. Over and out from Le Drop.